a new one. I've looked at it.
Big problem.
We are
Find
okay.
the version of 943 that has.
Committee. We are live to the Senate Finance. And we have a whole hour for the next committee, no, an hour and a half for the next, at least my next committee meeting. Comes in. We have appointments to do. And I have Senator Brock. I have your name on one and Senator Beck on one. If I'm thinking these are all last year's, that's mine and I've done it. I have yours on Debbie Winters.
Yeah, I did it in January or February.
Okay, so that's been done.
That was last year, January, February. I've done it this year, January, February. So I'll do it today.
Okay. We're playing catch up. I have Lauren Wabi, which I will do. And then we may have done Mark Foley. These, Sarah Furman. Okay, these were voted. I've got the tax commissioner in here twice. I think we've done it. Okay, well, I will ask you, and I need a motion to reappoint. These are all reappointments we got like last week. Lauren Wabi of Northfield to the Vermont Educational and Health Building Financing Agency for a term including April 15th this year to January 31st of 32. I've emailed her because that was the only contact I got. She said she'd get the paperwork into the governor, but she enjoys the work. She'd like to do it. She's a local person with some contact. I would love someone to so move because I don't think
That's
I
Dick Lobby
can.
Point, isn't it? Dick Lobby Point?
I believe so.
I'm so.
Senator Brock. No, Senator Brock, so moved.
Oh, you did someone. Okay, great.
Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. I'm reading that as 502, and I will take it upstairs. And Senator Brock, did we take yours upstairs?
I don't think so, because I haven't done it yet, so I wouldn't think you'd take it upstairs. I don't know that I've got it. They make a copy of it.
Okay.
The original.
And Senator Beck, I have you down for appointments for Mark Foley.
Yes,
Have you done that?
it's not complete yet, no.
Okay, well, they gotta get
Yeah.
complete. All right, I have just done mine. I will give this back to staff so I won't lose it. All right, mine is done. I have the original, so when they come in. All right, committee, what are we doing? This is a miscellaneous agricultural subjects. I think yesterday we decided that we would ask property valuation to update their 2013 study. So we need to put that in. I think there's no way we can handle all the pricing codes that got done in there. But we wanted to take a look at the section on exempting parts from
Forester.
Forestry repair parts.
for logging, I think. So Bradley, that's you. Can you,
I'm the sales tax part, Bradley has.
you're that?
I mean, I'm
Okay,
on the
then you
current
better
use report.
come up.
Yeah, but it wasn't the parts, it was like the machines.
Well, that's,
That's what we're trying to. It was the grammar. aspect.
well, also, yeah, what it is, and
What it means.
Okay.
I am hearing that it is a usage-based tax. As a matter of principle, having been through Park mulch, if you put it on your tomatoes, it was tax exempt. If you put it on your roses, it wasn't. And we got a whole lot of like feed dealers that when the auditors went out were hit with bills. So one of them was like $300,000.
So glad you brought that up because I was gonna talk about that too.
Wow.
I am one of the favorite legislators of the Veterinary Association because
Mhm.
we had medication that was tax exempt if you used it on your horse. It wasn't if you used it on your pet dog. However, that leaves the seller requires them to make a judgment. And my ask was about your border collie who herded your sheep during the day and slept on your bed at night, and what was it? And they couldn't tell me. So
Vera, am I
if
showing
this
up
is
over
your
there?
space, I'm gonna have some concerns, okay? All right, I don't take from the audience until we go through and we get to questions, okay?
Think of the right thing here. Yes. Okay, so I haven't gotten to nerd out about sales tax in a while, so I'm excited to be here.
We haven't touched it in a while.
Have not, it's not that I was involved with. What I thought I'd do is talk about the exemption as it exists now, and then go into the additions here, just to kind of contextualize everything. And before I do that,
We get
preface it.
skidders and loggers and
Yep, there's some stuff already covered in subdivision 51 as exempt. So first off, Chair Cummings mentioned use-based sales tax exemptions. There's also product-based sales tax exemptions. Those are two different things. A use-based exemption is what it sounds like. It's exempt, but only if it's used for a certain purpose. My experience working in the Department of Taxes, a lot of the same experiences over there the Senator Cummings was talking about when it comes to use-based exemptions. That is, this pen is exempt if you use it for work, but it's not exempt if you use it at home, right? The business selling the pen is responsible for collecting tax.
uncompensated.
So they're also liable for when things are done incorrectly in a lot of cases. So what happens when they start selling all the pens exempt, just trusting that everyone's using them for the quote unquote business purpose? What can result is confusion among taxpayers about the treatment, and with businesses. And in my experience, there's been cases where people have been angry and come to the legislature because they were audited. A lot of times businesses, the ones collecting tax, they were audited and it was discovered they were doing things wrong and they owed the tax that wasn't collected.
We had 2 or 3 where every year there was a group of irate taxpayers.
So when it comes to use-based exemption, it's one of those areas where there's a lot of risk for that sort of thing. And also, JFO does the presentations on a high quality tax system, and then there's simplicity. And so there's a lot of those pillars they talk about where the use-based exemption does not score well on those things. When it comes to simplicity is definitely one where it's complex and taxpayers don't know what they're supposed to do, and when they get it wrong, sometimes they end up owing a lot of money. So that's the risk around use-based that you should be aware of in general. And I'm glad I get to talk about this kind of outside of the context of anyone asking me to draft anything. Because if one of you asked me to draft a use-based exemption, I would not come in here and be like, they're bad, don't do it. Because, I would have done that for a client. We're just talking in general right now about tax policy stuff. So use-based is to be avoided. I would suggest, because of the potential problems that it could cause. Product-based is easier as far as administration goes. All pens are exempt. The businesses generally will not get that wrong. And that's easier. When it comes to exemptions, though, in both cases, just be aware you are eroding the tax base whenever there's any exemption, which is also one of the pillars to have a broad, right? So those are just things to keep aware of. One reason why I'm kind of picking on the use-based thing is when it comes to subdivision 51, This particular exemption doesn't know what it wants to be. As it's written, it could be interpreted to be use-based or product-based. And that's something to be aware of in considering what you're considering. And I'll show you why. It says the following machinery, usually if it's following machinery, you're thinking that's going to lead to a product-based, because they're just saying we're going to list and it's going to be product-based. Including repair parts, that's actually easy enough. I know there was talk about that, but and then it says used for timber cutting, timber removal, and processing of timber or other solid wood forest products. And this is where it starts to be confused about whether it's product or use-based, because this statement could mean when used or if used, which would make it use-based. But because it doesn't say that, it could be a statement of these products are used for this, which could still keep it in product-based. And then it listed, so the current law lists all of these items, which are items, equipment, machinery that is really heavily associated with commercial timber activity. So,
Good question.
So to the grammar, that includes if I buy a feller buncher. That's the machinery that is not taxed.
is it listed here?
Yes.
It-
Right.
Yes.
Skidders
So-
are not.
So
yeah,
the piece
yeah.
of machinery is not taxed.
The machinery
Is
or
exempt.
A product.
Temporary sales tax. That was you.
exempt sales tax.
Any,
We already exempted skidders.
well, there wouldn't be a
For the fellow boundary machinery is exempt from sales tax under this exemption.
check. So then moving forward,
As
if I bought a repair part for that feller buncher,
Yeah.
that would also be excluded or exempt, right?
yes, and that's when we start to get that, the repair part. If it's a repair part that's specific to a feller buncher,
Yes.
there's no ambiguity around that.
Yeah.
But if it's something that could be used for multiple different pieces of machinery, we're in use-based exemption plan.
But that's current law. It's currently on the list.
That's current law. And I'll tell you how current law is being done now.
Yeah.
With this, because that's gonna lead us into how it could change with this change.
This is what we've already done.
So what you've already done, let me go ahead, let me explain the
Okay,
current law
let's
treatment before,
Finish.
because we can start to get confused if we jump around.
This is what, this is current law.
So right now, I'm just telling you current law before we get into the added complexity with the additions. So under current law, the way this is done, looking at, the Department of Taxes has a fact sheet on this, and they also have a provision in their regulations about this. Looking at both of those things, you can see that effectively the department has treated this as product-based. I'm not speaking for them, it's my interpretation of looking at those things, is that they saw these items are all very much part of commercial timber cutting, timber removal. So, there's not a department interpretation written down that I'm aware of saying it's product-based or it's use-based. They just seem to have treated it as product-based. Their fact sheet says, if you buy these things, these particular products will be exempt. So they're treating it so far, that at least the first part of this exemption is product-based, because there is a second part that is definitely use-based, but I haven't got to that
So
yet.
if I buy a huge shipper to use in my yard, which is the size
Right now,
on the truck,
it's product-based right now, so
it
it's
is
exempt.
product based.
Exempt if you're buying for your yard or whatever, they're treating it as product-based. And as far as administration goes, as far as tax businesses selling these things,
Right.
much easier on them.
Yeah.
To do it that way, and that's how it's been done so far. And it has to do with the items on this list. The question hasn't had to be answered, the hard question that I'm getting at, which is this a use-based exemption or a product-based one? So far, the answer, at least, I don't think it hasn't been answered, but the treatment has been product-based
Okay,
for that part. The second part is use-based. If you look at the materials and the regulations of the department, the traction enhancement accessories, tire chain track systems, legal language there says a windfall for use, so that's very clearly use-based.
even semi trailers.
That's
So we're not at that part yet. But under current law, these accessories that go on to the machinery
Yeah,
up above that, the department is treating as use-based. And so in that case, they have to be, for the exemption to apply, that those things when sold there has to be an exemption certificate where the buyer saying, I am using it for these things up here. But that's still a sort of finite, universe of items. So that leads us to the additions. With semi-trailers and tractors and these other things that are not clearly just used in logging, I think this addition is going to force the question of use based or product based to be answered. And I'm not sure if the department currently has an interpretation of that. I know that the department had asked for this language down here to be added, which is the department may require a purchaser at the time of purchase to certify that a motor vehicle or other equipment is exempt under this section. You wouldn't do that if they're going to be considering it product based. This is an indication that
It's
the
not-
department is looking at the second part as use based now. So evidence suggests that this entire exemption may start to be treated in a more of a use based way. But that is an open question.
And what is proof, and you've got an 18-year-old behind the cash register. Yeah,
So now I'll get into the exemption next, which I think is like the reason I think you wanted me to talk about this was you wanted to clarify whether it's these items or the parts that would be exempt under
yes,
this.
it's a semi-trailer.
And that's complicated by the fact that if something is subject to purchase and use tax, it's not subject to sales tax. And a lot of these items are subject to purchase and use tax. So for most of this, the answer is yes, that's subject to purchase and use tax, therefore it was not subject to sales tax in the first place. So for those items, it's really the repair parts used on a use base exemption basis for those things. Some of these things though are not. I mean, tractors and certain trailers, those things would be subject to sales tax. Unless another exemption applies. So it's not true for all things on the list, but a lot of the big items, especially like trucks and things, those are exempt because they're subject to purchase and use tax.
Exempt, well, okay, they're exempt from sales, but they're still paying purchase and use.
Yes.
Yeah, all right.
For
Why are
being
they-
registered for on-road use, yeah.
But this language would exempt all tractors from sales tax.
See, that's, I believe, based on the language below, I believe that the department will come down and say that this is use, tractors are a use-based exemption here. I'm saying that because the exemption you're starting with is ambiguous about use-based product base, that exists. So, it's not the addition of these things or this change that's at fault. It's just that when this was put in the law, it was clearly someone couldn't make up their mind whether this should be use-based or product-based, or maybe, as we know, there's political compromises sometimes, and we end up with ambiguous language. So
But
maybe that's why.
I'm thinking that if the tax committee is having a hard time and our tax drafter figuring out what this does or means, or how it should be interpreted, that you send that out and ask a merchant on a busy Saturday morning to make that interpretation. Having gone through that 2 to 3 years when we upped our audits at the tax department, I made a personal vow that I would not send a tax bill out of here unless a sixth grader could read it and understand what was taxable and under what circumstances. I'm having a hard time understanding this.
Yeah, and I agree, and I will admit that I have never used a feather buncher, a skidder, or a old tree chipper, but it seems to me that the terms that are in the original language are very industry specific to timber. And now what this language is doing is adding very broad terms for tractors and trailers that are used across many different industries. So I don't think we have appropriately in clarifying what our intention here is, which is to give timber logging equipment sales exemption. So yeah, I don't think this language was, yeah. I agree that this language is very vague, hard to interpret, and either needs to be converted to a study or strict.
We have a fiduciary responsibility to the revenues of the state, so.
We need to make clear in policy, this is not clear.
Can we clear up the underlying language that is also ambiguous?
Well, I think,
I think that if you made a change, I would suggest that it should be clearly product-based or use-based. Right now, I think that as written, it's a strange mix. I would think that these items would probably continue to be considered product-based and the new ones would be considered to be use-based, but they're all on the same list with the same leading language, which is not clear at all.
this whole bill is a little bit, we've had a couple, like the end of the year, 4 different or 5 different things got taken off the wall and thrown into one bill and not really thought out. Okay, so is that all there is in that section?
I mean, this is the part where I understood that there was a desire for me to explain things.
Okay,
And yeah,
Senator Maddow.
Yeah, I think the new underline, expanding out to semi-trailers, that stuff. If I'm reading that, everything I've heard, it's because of the repair parts that go towards those would be subject to purchase and use tax besides tractors, right? Because tractors are sales tax. But I think semi-trailer, truck cranes, tractors, trailers, motor vehicles over 10,000 pounds, those would all be subject to purchase and use tax. Therefore, it would just be the repair parts of those vehicles or trailers.
So my car
At risk.
dealership wouldn't get the $300 they charged to replace the broken cover on the gas tank.
That's used for the timber industry.
Right. So if you had,
Motor vehicles used in the timber.
I think that's what the point of that being in there is, just the repair part aspect of those vehicles used in.
Right, but then you have to, the guy selling the part is liable. If you tell him, yeah, I'm using that motor vehicle in the timber industry. Well, I drive it out there and I look at the logger and say, yep, that's where I want it to go. And for the next 6 months, I use it to drive my kids around. If the person selling the part has to make a determination as to what the use is.
But don't you have to give your EIN if you're tax exempt?
there's for a use-based exemption, there would be an exemption certificate that's to be filled out and the buyer has to
I
describe
have
their
a
use.
sales tax number.
Right, but if you're the purchaser, you have to,
Purchaser fills out the exemption certificate.
yeah, so you have to provide something. And then also, if that comes back on them actually not being exempt for whatever reason, they would have to pay that tax, right? Not
No,
not the business.
It's both.
Okay.
If there's something wrong with the exemption certificate, if they don't get granted an exemption,
Mhm.
they could be on the hook. And then the buyer could also, but in the real world, the department's not going to chase down single buyers, they're going to tell a business. You did 1,000 transactions, we're getting our tax from you.
Yeah. But they could go back to the purchaser.
technically,
The law.
the person owns the law, but
Yeah.
it's a high risk to ask someone who is acting as an agent of the state, collecting a state tax, and it's not their choice. The law tells them you have to take care of that tax and you are liable to pay that tax. If I use the money from sales tax to go on vacation and I don't pay the tax department, I'm in big trouble. But I get no compensation for taking care of the state's money, and that's the balance and I.
But-
Yeah.
Like-
If this is a de minimis amount, this might not be worth having a discussion. So it might have, oh, Ted is gone. All right, we can keep talking because Ted's in and out. He will be back.
I would just say question, because it does get into, you know, a much larger area of, you know, if I'm gonna buy a wheel bearing for my pickup truck that would qualify for this, but I'm not using any timber, so I wouldn't count. But somebody in timber would buy that same exact wheel bearing for their pickup truck, and it would count. I'm curious, I don't know if tax has anything to this, but like a winch cable that's used in many other industries, how's it actually working for tax? Because that's more of a broader scope, or a tire chain for that fact. Like, is it working right now, and would adding these other vehicles and equipment work with that?
Okay, and Rebecca, is this, I got the note that you wanted to talk, is this the second you want to talk about?
No,
No,
and I'm sorry, I missed that. The context that's coming in here. And also, we had a little back and forth and, I was gonna chat about the, tech line study lines to get work fine, but let you know.
Oh, okay.
So I'm just here listening.
okay. Do you have anything to say about taxes, about the climbers, skidders, loaders that used for logging and repair parts, how I've had my personal, just anything based on use, I know, but as a general rule, I don't take it, but
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, we're aware of this policy discussion that's going on, and I think, Kirby's flagging some good issues about clarifying,
okay.
if it's user product based, but, you know, we're experienced in administering these, both ways, certainly
We're
much
not,
easier
we're
to
not
do
worried about
products.
you.
Yeah. Yeah, so,
I know, but I don't. I've got a witness list here going through first. Senator Beck.
I mean, so what I understand from the forestry logging people is they want a sales tax exemption from repair parts for machinery and equipment that's specific to their operation. They're not asking for exemption from purchase and use or sale. Does this language do that?
So current law exempts repair parts for the items that are already there.
Right.
That are used. For these new items, so one thing I'm flagging is currently it's basically being treated as product based, so it's pretty straightforward for them. But by adding these other things that are used in other contexts other than forestry, it starts to cast doubt on, is this use based or product based in the first place?
Yeah.
So I would just say, like, drafting wise, if you want an exemption for repair parts for vehicles used in forestry, maybe just create a new subdivision and say that flat out instead of confusing the current one. The current one could use some help too. Since it's effectively being treated as product based, maybe it should be rephrased as being clearly product based instead of suggesting that it might be use based for the top half anyway. The second part is use based. So that's what I think that just clarity wise, I think like putting that exactly out there would achieve it better.
That's all that they're asking.
Yeah, I can see that is here, that repair parts for a truck that's used for logging would be part of this. It's just confusing in the way it is right now.
So if we did repair parts for the product-based ones, it might be clearer, but even that, there's a lot, nuts and bolts. I mean, is this a specific piece for a specific product? Or is this a product that is interchangeable with a variety of motors or tires or?
I think you get that with all the, a skidder, cut to length you could go in there and I need a quarter 20 bolt.
Yeah,
That's sales tax, but you go, it's for my skidder. And then it's not sales tax. So it's already being done because of all of the
okay, so the
machinery
question is, do
listed.
we want to expand it?
Yeah.
Senator Hardy, and I'm gonna have Ted go up while we've got him.
So just, I did want to hear from Ted to make sure I understand the reasons, but. I do think if we are gonna move forward with this, we should do what Kirby suggested, create a new section, because this is confusing in two ways. It's confusing about whether or not it's exempting the full vehicles, and it's also confusing about whether it's
Yeah, so we
a
have
product
that
or use base. So I, depending on what Ted says about the cost, I would be supportive of moving forward with this, but I just.
Moving it into a repair part.
Correct, and clarifying it, but I don't know what the fiscal note
It's
is
this,
at this
we
point.
put in 3 repair orders last year. Is everyone else hearing high pitched squeal out of this machine, or just
What is it?
those of us at this end?
I can never hear this.
What is it?
It did it last year too, and we had as much success getting it fixed as the squeaky doors. I guess we are not on the good list this year. Okay.
Raising tax.
So Ted, it does encourage us all to leave.
Brought the wrong repair parts for machines.
That's right. Okay, Ted.
Ted Burnett, Joint Fiscal Office. Unfortunately, we do not have a specific number for this exemption. In looking at it, I went down the road of looking at the exemption as it would apply to the repair parts and potentially vehicles that would go on the road and be subject to the purchase and use tax. So specifically looking at the sales tax, to go under the hood a bit and some of the avenues that I try to pursue. With the sales tax, we, to the extent it's possible, we look at the census does an economic census where they're looking at sales within different industries, and it goes all the way down. They look at different NAICS codes, and so we were looking at the 6-digit NAICS code that corresponds to like commercial and industrial machinery, repair and maintenance, but then you'd have to figure out what portion of that is forestry. That category might include services, which aren't a part of the sales tax. So didn't get to a point where I felt in any way comfortable to have a specific number for you all. That said, I do want to emphasize that this is not de minimis. It would absolutely, even though I wasn't able to put a specific number, some of the indications out there, it would definitely impact the numbers on the ed fund outlook. And so want to flag, I think sometimes when we say it's unknown, it's easier for folks to say, oh, well, then it's not a big deal. This absolutely has a fiscal impact. We just aren't able to put a specific enough number on it. Yes, and I had some note about the distinction between product-based and use-based and some administration considerations, but I think we all have gone through those pretty extensively. So that's the update. Yes, not able to get to a specific number.
Can you give us
Not a de minimis amount.
It's material.
Material, okay, Senator Mallon.
Do you have a ballpark of what it is now based on current law? Are you excited for that?
No. So there are quite a few within the tax expenditure report. There are quite a few that aren't estimated because there aren't enough.
There is,
Yeah.
there
There's
is,
enough data.
yeah, there is a file where these tax expenditures, because these are taxes that are not collected, so it is a decrease in revenue. And the loggers, the skidders and stuff, I believe are in there, because every year you pick one to review or you go through them. And I remember doing that review. Again, once we start doing something for one industry, we open ourselves up to why aren't you doing something for my industry? I'm equally important to your economy. And it would be an impact, not de minimis impact on the ed fund. We can't say how much with the equine farms. It was anywhere from 3 to 11 million. I doubt this would hit 11 million. But the ed fund is pretty tight this year.
I think so.
This happened last year.
Going to outer space.
I'm not sure why, but it does encourage me to get everybody out of this room before I start to scream. Because that is just a high pitch kind of wail. Okay. Questions for Ted?
In the tax expenditure report, that this whole section, we don't know the information.
So for what I've dug into the tax expenditure report, there are some that are similar. There's not this specific one for whatever reason, in the tax expenditure report, but there are some that are kind of similar and analogous and looking at specific parts. And those are not estimated.
Okay, and
Yes.
this section of law that Kirby just walked us through, it's not in the tax expenditure report. It doesn't have enough.
Yeah, we're gonna take a look this summer at the tax expenditure report and really dig into making sure that you kind of cover the whole universe, but
You're doing the 10-year house.
it's gonna be a busy summer for DFO. Yeah.
But if you're trying to do that for one industry, you can imagine this opens the door to every other industry that has equipment that is
We have no
interchangeable with
control.
the equipment. we get for personal
No,
use.
we tried last year and we had 3 repair. It's getting funny. Yeah.
And the final piece I would say here is in the consideration between use-based versus product-based. I think within the use-based universe, there's a much broader potential fiscal impact because folks are kind of squishy in their use of specific repair parts and saying, sure, I do a little forestry on the side and this repair part should be included. As opposed to being really explicit about which products are included.
Can I ask you about that? I mean, so someone mentioned that there's a certificate they have to get. Is that a certificate they get from the tax department?
Yeah, Rebecca Samra, sorry to do this last time, Deputy Commissioner, Department of Taxes. Yeah, we provide exemption certificates, but it's then like the customer will fill that out with their information and they present that to the vendor as evidence that the vendor that collect and remit sales tax, and the vendor keeps those certificates
Okay,
for when we come and audit the vendor and say, you know, why.
so there's no verification that this is like a full-time logging operation that's like a real legit.
It's like having a sales tax, not with
Sure.
Sure.
It was good before you got here. Okay.
All right. Any questions for Jed? If not, I'm gonna hear. Jed, you want to come up?
Thank you. Thank you, Eric. For the record, Jed, for transparency, I'm a representative from Ward 1. I sit on the House Agriculture, Food and Resiliency and Forestry. So thank you for the opportunity to try to add some clarity and increased understanding.
Can you speak up, Jeff, just because of the volume?
Oh, no, there's a lot of.
Thank you.
Yeah, for clarity, this bill, which has been pared down, and all of the sales and use taxes on the forest trucking, forest trailers has been stripped out. This bill is down to exempt forest trucks and forest trailers and related equipment to transport from the log landing to the market. And all of those, I think it was Kirby who was documenting, I think it was back in 2016 or 2017, those were actual in-forest machines that were not taxed, either sales tax or repair parts. And for clarification, and the representative from the tax department is accurate, I have an exemption for those for when I go to buy repair parts, I have to file it with Anderson Equipment or Milton Cat or United Construction Forestry, and it lists the actual machine, the year, and I, under perjury, have to sign that this hydraulic pump that I'm replacing, or this part, is being used on, 2013 John Deere 8-wheel drive 4 model 1210, etc. The same would be if I went to Napa or Peterbilt or International, list my registered logging truck, and it is a single purpose truck. It can't carry gravel, has a log body. I would register that truck, and the stir, when I went to purchase that repair part that was for that specific piece of equipment, I can only say that Maine, New Hampshire, obviously, and New York State, we're part of a regional wood basket. We, like agriculture in this Northeast region, are essential. Agricultural practices are essential, as are forestry. And to Senator Brock's point about, I believe if we're exempting one industry, what about the next? In our locale, our regional locale, ag and forestry are treated similarly, but not in Vermont with regard to these repair parts. I won't debate how de minimis or not. When you're talking repair parts, both forestry is about 1/5 or 1/6 the size of the economic impact is, for instance, with Maine. We're a $2 billion impact onto the economy. And that, it's clear to everyone that both agriculture and forestry operations are being increasingly less sustainable, difficult to be profitable at all. So this request was to try to add some relief to similar condition ag and forestry in neighboring states with Vermont. So that's the absolute narrow scope. We tried to get a fiscal note, and it's tough. We've been told it was de minimis. The last witness who was up here said it's not de minimis. I don't know.
Well, I think it's changed since it left your committee.
Well, it's only repair parts for forest trucks.
Did you come out of the House with this, or is this new Senate language? I didn't think the House passed this. This is Senate Ag that had this.
Yeah, you have a miscellaneous ag,
Well,
and this is our miscellaneous ag bill. And I believe they're different.
Am I wrong?
Senator,
Yeah.
I can't tell you if you're wrong. I thought this came out a long time ago.
No, this is 8942.
So it came out of the House.
Did it have this section when it left the house, or was it added in?
The repair parts,
Yeah,
that's the only thing in this bill.
when it left the house. So Senate Ag didn't change the language of this section.
We long ago gave up on the sales tax. Today, a log truck and trailer, tractor and trailer is 400 or 450,000. My single purpose straight frame logging truck is 300,000. None of that is exempt. It's just simply the repair parts.
In this bill, it leaves all of what's there, but then it adds systems 5.L. It says the following machinery, including repair parts, and used for timber cutting, timber removal, and processing of timber or other solid wood products. And then it has semi-trailers, tractors, truck cranes, truck tractors, trailers, motor trucks, motor vehicles with a manufacturer's listed gross weight of 10,000 pounds or more. So it's adding a lot. It's not touching the present exemption. It's adding a lot more, and they aren't truck, tractors, trailers, they are not specific to logging. I think that's where it gets in. You could use it for more than one thing, and that's where the problem.
Is there a colon or semicolon and does
Yeah,
it not say
no.
forest trucking?
No, it says, starting loaders, slashers, logs, whole tree chippers, stationary screening systems, firewood processors, elevators, screens, comma, semi-trailers, tractor truck frames, truck tractors, trailers, motor trucks, and motor vehicles with a manufactured list gross weight. Doesn't say used in logging. It might be implied, but it doesn't say that.
Well, I have to say that the first group, the slashers,
current law. Yeah.
that's current law since the
So we're not
2017. That, and, if it doesn't say forest tractor trailers,
No.
logging trucks.
No,
It does look like this was added in the Senate.
yeah.
It was, it did
Yeah,
not
it's
come out of
under
your
line.
committee. It was added in the
Okay.
Senate.
And it's
I'm curious why it doesn't
vague
Page
enough.
nine
so-
have the
42.
word, you know.
Well, I think the same language is kicked around multiple places.
It's in a different bill. Okay, well, H 942, which is the bill we have, as it came out of the House, did not have any of this language. It was not in the bill at all.
It was, there was a set of ag.
Yeah, the Senate Ag Committee added.
Well, I guess this, if I understand correctly, this comes down to an issue that sometimes there are pieces of equipment that can be used, both privately or for some, non-tax exempt purpose. And then there are pieces of equipment that can be used for business purposes, such as in this industry. And I wonder, are there any other parallels in which we do the same thing with equipment that we split in the same way? Well, from the tax standpoint.
Agriculture equipment is, a lot of that is exempt for parts, repair parts.
And how is a differentiation made between the pickup truck used in agriculture and the pickup truck that is used personally in terms of deciding which is or is not taxable?
For the ag exemption, the vehicles aren't included, but there are things like tractors or machinery equipment as part of it. And it's all use based.
And so there's space by declaration.
There's
of the
also-
ag-
There's also an ag exemption though for supplies. And part of that is product based, part of it's use based. But at least the way that's written, it's like those things are clear, but very complicated for taxpayers to be able to follow. And department spent a lot of years helping the public understand how to do that. And that's kind of why things are kind of calm with that exemption right now. If you were to change it, probably would make people mad again, because like people start getting wrong again.
This is the disruption committee, so.
But yeah, disruption's a good word.
But the question is then, is there, treatment in some other states that perhaps is clearer and more definitive about how you do the separation?
For logging, for like.
Or for logging or for any other industry that's specific, in which there is in effect a crossover possibility.
Yeah, it's possible. I don't think anyone's done that research.
I mean, I think it seems like there are two questions here. Is one, can we make the language more clear to make sure it's just repair parts? And I think, yes, Kirby could draft it to make it more clear. But then the second question is, how much is this gonna cost? And the answer to that is we don't know. And so that creates some unease. And for me, at least, especially given the state of the education fund.
Sales tax is the primary non-property tax source for the education. So we'll give loggers a break, but we could raise
Property tax.
property tax. Yeah.
And to me, the more important question is, are we treating business organizations that in an equal way when we look at something like this? Because if this exemption belongs because it's used, let's say, exclusive for business purposes by the logging industry, what other industries have like a similar, if not identical situation in which they should get the same tax break or not?
Right, I think agriculture is the one that's the most similar, but there are tax exemptions for other types of industries.
I
do
think we could find
parts and-
that
and equipment.
tourism might be in next.
Manufacturers.
They have
Yeah.
major economic impact here.
Tourism parks.
Tourism. Well, what do you use for tourism? Billboards, I mean, yeah.
I am not against expanding these exemptions for the timber industry. And I do think it is consistent with what we already do in Vermont that I understand for agricultural manufacturing. If they buy inputs to their process, like Costco or other stores, they don't pay the sales tax, right?
Yes, but there's rules around that.
If they qualify with an
Yeah,
EMA.
yeah.
I'm sure that they're.
And it's quite involved. I mean, manufacturing is very involved.
So I'm not against that. I just don't think this language does it clearly. We would need to rework it, revise it, get it to a better space for it to be both interpretable and implementable.
But this is probably our last committee meeting. And this bill just came to us. I don't think it is ready for final.
I was just gonna say the same thing.
Um,
I'm not in favor.
If they get to it earlier next year, and if we can get a tighter number on the impact on the property tax, then it will be easier to make that decision. But I don't want to go home telling my constituents that I raised their property taxes to give logging a break. All it will take is one semi truck hauling something other than logs. And it'll be an issue.
I'd frame it as maybe not giving logging a break, but instead treating logging consistently with how we treat agriculture.
I think we are.
But that's what I
Yeah.
support, but I just don't see that link with this.
There was a big discussion about skidders last year. Skidders were not an agricultural product. I believe they're a logging product. However, skidders are used to clean up manure in the barns. And there was a big discussion about skidders were an agricultural product. We do. But semi trucks, pretty broad thing. Yeah. I'm just leery of giving any tax break this year when the average Vermonter is under so much financial pressure. I know loggers are, I know farmers are, but most Vermonters are under a lot of pressure. And a little bit here and a little bit there hits your property taxes. Grains of sand. So if somebody wants to try and do a tighter draft, but I don't know that we're gonna meet again. I think we're done. Right, what is it? I think we got that out.
No, that's education technology products.
Oh, that's that one. Okay. I have sent an email to the head of education telling him with all the V's, the agency and the NEA opposed to 650, that I don't think it's ready for, I don't think I've got the votes to get it out of here. And this is not the place to fix it. And would they please fix it? We'd be happy to add it. But we are the place deciding about that. It might be a quick fix. This one is endless deep. I think there's any more questions, so.
Chair Comments Committee, thank you. It's humorous, but a skidder is a single function
Right.
vehicle. There's nothing to do with farming.
Well, that's not what the farmers told us.
So skid steers are used in construction and agriculture. And lamps,
They were referred to as skidders. Edmund,
they need to check the book.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you. And,
Okay.
Chairman, I hope we all get out before any of us will start screaming, but thank you, Greg.
we
Thank you.
have,
Are we doing a substitute amendment for that, the Fish and Wildlife bill?
that is coming in next. Right
Okay.
now, we have on 9:40.
Bradley, the PR report, that's such a city there.
Thing. All right. Right.
You know what, if you wanna, if I could think so much.
Okay, I'm looking at Brad, send us an amendment.
Misunderstanding or cross, yeah, it's just.
Okay. Committee on our website today, we have the amendment drafted for us. We're just asking the, there he is.
Yeah.
The commissioner of taxes, come on up.
Actually, I was thinking this is gonna be 8942.
Which one are we, yeah, this is.
933. I thought we were.
No,
928 is,
Oh.
it's the PFAS and the fees, the Fish and Wildlife.
That one
Yeah.
we're gonna do next. This one is doing, you already said it to us,
Equine.
doing the farm study,
Okay.
Okay,
the equines. I think that's all that's left. On 942. Yes, we're striking,
Are we also
No.
breaking out the tax stuff that's in there?
yeah, we were striking out everything in this bill. Except section 4.
does that mean, in the underlying bill as well?
Yes,
Okay,
the only thing left of that underlying bill is a study of the fund.
Oh, we're striking out all the pricing thing and stuff too?
Do you think we have time to do that?
I'm not gonna argue with you. I wasn't sure, but I wasn't here for the last time we discussed the bill, so I wasn't sure where.
I mean, it's a massive rewrite. I'd have to hear from Walmart and
If I may.
Yeah.
Did that go to the House or did the Senate add that?
believe the Senate and.
The pricing stuff, I think
Pricing
it came.
the pricing stuff came from the House,
Yeah.
and so that is the underlying bill that was passed by the House. And it is the agency of agriculture that has jurisdiction over regulating.
Weights and measures, yeah.
So I'm not as concerned with that language, but I don't know.
Well, I mean, we just don't have time to take testimony on it. I think it came in last week and it
Does
was very late coming.
it have revenue impacts?
It's gonna cost somebody money. I don't know.
There's
Nothing
also,
bad's gonna happen if we don't. do it.
there's other things in the bill about water quality, rating and management of non-sewage waste.
Yeah, there are other things in the underlying.
Okay, you wanna walk us through and we can look at them? It's gonna be another 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Yeah. Okay, let's walk through and see what's in there.
So I'm definitely comfortable stripping some things that we got from Senate agriculture, but there's a lot in the underlying.
Okay,
Okay.
I'm probably not gonna trust that. Maybe we just went over the ag bill. All right.
The number again.
942.
Is it just that amendment that we have on there?
The amendment is on today, the bill itself is on yesterday.
Thank you.
Just the amendments on the committee page, that's what it has, since it's not a strict call.
Now that, okay, that's, so, whoever it was.
Okay, so this is the bill was passed by the House. And, so we did skim over this earlier, and so I'll go over this more quickly, just to refresh your recollection. So there's water quality training they're making. This Agency of Agriculture is going to make, or is proposing to make, water quality training for farmers optional. Currently, it's mandatory, about 5 hours over the course of 5 years. Managing non-sewage waste. So this is management of kind of composting items and giving the Secretary of Agriculture the ability to.
Since this is a miscellaneous bill, if you have the context, can you give an idea of where this language came from? If it was from the administration, just the.
It was from the administration. Yeah.
So all of it, or as the sections go, would be helpful. Just
I believe all of the underlying bill, and then the Senate amended version that's a little bit.
Okay.
And so this management non-sewage waste gets the Secretary of Agriculture more authority to review and identify and test that the material being used at farms, and that helps protect the farm quality soil, things of that sort. This is the retail pricing standard piece that we went over last time. And it's extensive, as the committee has pointed out. I'm happy to rediscuss this. I do want to, let the committee know that the Secretary of Agriculture already does pricing enforcement. It's the unit pricing versus the total sale price, like the price per pound and things of the sort is new, but it is the Agency of Agriculture is responsible for making sure that pricing is accurate for in store. If you have teams that go out, where they respond to complaints and things of that sort.
And it's this was in the underlying bill?
This is the underlying bill.
Okay. And
So is it that they're continuing to
request,
do?
At the request of the administration. And
Okay.
this is at the request of the administration is to do that. And
It exempts all convenience.
it would exempt all convenience stores from the unit pricing piece. So if you remember the unit pricing piece and then the total sale pricing. The unit pricing piece was like the price per pound or per ounce
Yeah.
or in accordance with normal standards. And then the total sale price is the price that the consumer can be expected to pay for the item. And so there's some exceptions for the unit pricing pieces, and convenience stores were accepted. And then if you only have one store of less than 7,000 square feet, then that is also exempt. But if you have 2 or more, because if you have a business like
Okay.
that no longer exempt. I'm happy to answer any other questions or concerns about that piece, but that is in the underlying bill. And then the last piece is the effective date of the underlying bill.
Okay, so what we've got left now is the amendment that you've given us to replace the exemption for equine farming to an update of the property valuations 2013 study on equine farming to see if we can tie the numbers and the cost to the ed fund down. $11 million is about a penny on the sales tax, and I don't think we want to do that. And then the only other one was that agricultural parts or logging parts that we just were going over.
Yeah, and so let me just pull up the as passed by. I think that's on the committee's page, so we're just in there.
I was mistaken, my last statement, the as passed by Senate Ag is not on the page, but that's right. It's above now.
That's
Everything seems like 3 documents we're talking about.
Yeah.
You forgot to side by side. Like you drove down on your own side.
So I'm just gonna pull it up for my word, so just bear with me for one moment while I do that and stop sharing the screen while I do that.
And right now, our changes are focused on amending Senate Agriculture.
That is exactly right.
Because that's the one that hits taxes. We don't have any jurisdiction over. water, yeah, wastewater training. Unless they're charging a fee to this. Sure. Something.
Where are they voting on upstairs?
Let's just call it back.
Anybody want to just go? Or were there?
Matter of fact, maybe another 50 cent back.
Yeah. What was the bet?
The language was okay.
Sales tax exemption on volume stuff.
And Nicole fixed it.
Wow. Wishful thinking.
So that good news story, and then the high stakes.
Okay.
All right, so the underlying amendment amends the, it adds a convenience store exception to the unit pricing. And
Oh, they added.
yes, yes. And then, so section 4 of the underlying amendment, so the first few sections, still check here. And the horse is the third instance of amendment, sorry about that. The third instance of amendment is the equine farming.
Okay, what's the first and the second?
That is the convenience store
Okay.
addition to the unit price exception.
Price.
So that's 2 instances of amendment. So instances 1 and 2 deal with the unit pricing and the convenience store exception. Equine farming is 3. Number 4 is enabling the Rural Economic Development Initiative, and enables them to make grants throughout the state instead of just to small areas. And then let's scroll through here. And then the retail sales tax is instance 5. And then the 6th instance of amendment is a change that the governor asked for. And this change is a change to S60. You'll recall that S60, my notes real quick. You'll recall that S60 was a bill that passed and was signed into law earlier this year, I believe in March, and it creates a special fund for farms that are affected by weather damage and natural disasters and things of that sort. And so when the governor was reviewing the bill, he noticed what he said was an inconsistency in who gets to approve or make the final decision. So earlier in the bill, it says that the secretary, in consultation with the review board, makes the decision about funding the awards for the program. And the governor said, okay, well, in section E, that's confusing because section E, it's not clear who makes that decision. So the governor asked for this change before he signed the bill, and the legislature or the committee's jurisdiction agreed. And so the secretary shall make a final award determination. So it kind of takes out and makes that clearer to conform it. So that is a conforming change to S60. And then the 7th instance amendment is changing the effective date. Section 4, which was the equine farming piece, is effective 2027.
Okay.
Sorry, you chimed in. Can you clarify, Bradley, where section 5, the Rural Economic Development Initiative, where does that come from? What was that?
That was an amendment that they, the folks there, proposed to the Rural Economic Development Initiative, proposed to the House or Senate Agriculture. And they proposed that because they discovered that there are some projects in areas that are not small towns. So normally their jurisdiction is limited to small towns of 5,000 people or less. And they fund, they do development work and fundraising, or they help bring down grants and federal monies and federal dollars.
Yes.
And so they wanted the ability to make grants throughout the state. They will focus primarily on small towns, and there's some additions in that section that make them focus primarily on small towns, as is their core, but they want the flexibility to make grants throughout the state.
Okay. So I think what we've done is we've done the Point Farms to become a study. And we've taken out the section on logging, arts, and semis. The additions, there are existing sales tax exemptions to parts and machinery that is generally only used in logging. Maybe somebody needs a broad, stump. A chipper, but
That's not in our amendment yet.
no, that is not.
So we're replacing their section 4 with a study on equine farming. I definitely support stripping section 6, which is that purchasing the stuff.
Okay,
The sales.
Sales.
all right, so should we'll ask Rounding to draft that,
For elected.
and we will try for 1 o'clock tomorrow.
Yeah.
At this point, I don't believe I have a committee of conference, if people will let me know. I'll try and hold 1 o'clock. For the committee, I won't be, maybe tomorrow will be the last day. We have one more amendment that we're being asked to make, not to this bill, to the Fish and Wildlife. bill. And I told Senator Watts that we would be 10 minutes, 7 minutes ago. So I'll give you the background on the Fish and Wildlife bill. We added at the
Good luck.
request of that exemption for unavoidable large quarry
Yields.
Yes.
Very upset. That's not in our jurisdiction. Okay, they're. The health and welfare, I thought we were the same thing, but why?
So I think that's right. It's not in the jurisdiction,
Yeah.
but it was an oversight.
Well, apparently there's different
Yeah, did you hear about
thinking
this?
at this point.
Yeah,
So the person who asked us to make the amendment is going to talk to you.
And just so that Vinny knows, earlier you asked me to take the PFAS piece out, and I meant that you did, it's ready, so I can email that to Sierra here.
Okay,
And I'm just gonna do that now, so you have it.
okay,
And you could choose if you would like,
Okay.
what you would like with it. And then I will
So we
see the
have
floor here.
every, all right,
Okay,
the reporter is here.
all right, so I will let you.
Everybody else, you
I
happy?
will take a seat.
No? Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
hello, everyone. Ann Watson. I am here because we had some conversation on the floor today about H928. It sounds like you have already had a little bit of this discussion.
Yeah.
So just to say it, Chair of Senate Natural Resources and Energy, I think there is there was a miscommunication between us and health and welfare. We were not trying to pull one over on them. So I think the most straightforward path is I'm going to be asking for natural resources to be pulling their report on 928 and reissuing it without the PFAS in it. And so I would ask you all also if you could pull back your report from finance on H928 and move forward again without the part about PFAS. And I think it is all.
No, we don't have jurisdiction. It's the bill.
So
But
sorry.
I would think if somebody stands up and makes a floor amendment with the straw poll of committees to remove it, that rather than trying to pull it back into committee,
Whatever you think is the most logical mechanism
I would,
is fine with me.
that would be, because we haven't got time to pull anything back.
There you go. whatever,
I
whatever.
think we could just. We had our fingers on it last, we added. So it probably would fall to us.
There are two PFAS things, one that the Senate Natural Resources Committee added. And one that the Finance Committee added, and the Finance Committee added it because Senate Natural Resources decided to add it. So there, my understanding is you're taking care of the Senate Natural Resources part of it.
And we need to take care of ours.
Correct.
Okay.
And we could either do it by just saying, or this is our amendment without this section, or we could do a substitute amendment. Or we could just put it forward and vote on it. John Tremaine, yeah.
I start to get a kick out of these procedural maneuvers. I also wonder if it might be better. I think we made two changes, and if you just rolled our change into your new substitute, then maybe we don't even need a finance committee report. But I don't know.
Well, the other part of the Finance Committee part is definitely, it's fees.
It's-
So it's definitely our jurisdiction, but I mean, whatever. Just the natural resources reporter would be.
And one thing, just for clarity, for my clarity's sake, why are we doing all this again?
So why we're doing the PFAS stuff
What
or
we're doing, the changes we're making, right?
Oh, well, thank you. So, I had thought that the chair of health and welfare, was aware of these changes, and it turned out that she was not. And I think that's perfectly fair, like, this is a part of her jurisdiction, their jurisdiction. And so, welcome the further conversation. Fully okay with not doing it and saying, great, lovely conversation for a future year. That's fine. So trying to, I think that was the,
Strictly a jurisdictional issue, not a substance issue. Is that
Correct.
fair statement?
that's fair.
Yeah.
And I would say a time issue,
Mhm.
particularly because I think if we had more time, my hope is that it would be that people would find that these changes were not controversial, but that's a discussion that can happen in the future, and that's okay.
So Brett, I think Bradley, did you already draft a substitute amendment for this?
I mean, I just drafted a new amendment that is just the fees piece, and that's what you have now.
So we could just do that. I can offer it, because I'm the reporter in the
That's right.
finance section.
Okay.
I can offer it. Is everyone okay with that?
Yeah. Is that everyone's okay?
Yeah.
All right, straw poll, okay.
You can just give me that.
Yeah. I just forwarded it to Sierra. I'll forward that to you.
So I have to be in the governor's office in about 5 minutes. No, this is talking. I think that's where it goes. It's on my calendar. Bradley, do you have something on the ag bill we could vote on?
All I have for the ag bill, so I would need to prepare taking, so what you instructed me to do was to take out the retail tax piece
Yeah.
and then change the farming piece to, a study, but keeping everything else. Is that right?
Yeah. So if you get that, we'll meet tomorrow
Okay.
at 1 and get it out.
Okay.
And I think that's it.
To be clear, you said the sales tax.
Any-
The retail tax, the tax. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you.